You're listening to Bringing an Ancient Faith to a Modern World with Father Anthony Messa, where we explore ways to encourage and equip the local Orthodox Church. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Bringing an Ancient Faith to a Modern World podcast. I'm here with Father Anthony Messa. And Father Anthony, welcome back to you. You just got back from vacation.
Yep, great to be back.
So what was your favorite part about being on vacation?
So my favorite part of being on vacation, Katie, is I like to rest and relaxation. Okay, vacations for us in the Messa household are a little bit different, maybe, than the way others look at it. A lot of times people say, "Where'd you go on vacation?" And my answer is always nowhere. We usually go out in the middle of nowhere, just a small town or whatever it is, and just have a nice place where we stay. And our focus is really on not really where we go as much as what we do there, which is resting and relaxing. I know a lot of people who go on vacation and then they come back tired because they took a flight to here and they did all these activities. That's not the Messa family. We are all about resting in mind, body, spirit, our relationships. Resting for sure is my answer.
And you famously plan your vacations a year ahead of time. So this wasn't a got to get out of the house, been stuck in here for 100 days. You planned this 365 days ago. So why do you make it a point to plan a vacation every year?
So what we've discovered is the only way, we'll talk a little bit about why vacation is so important. Okay, the only way to make sure that it gets in there is to book it a year in advance for us, because that's the only way to clear the calendar. Because if we don't book it a year in advance, okay, something will always come up. It'll always be like, okay, should we take a vacation this month? Well, we got this, so next month. And then next month there's a wedding, and then next month there's a whatever, and then next month there's, something ministry. So basically we kind of do it backwards. We book it a year in advance and say, we're going to be gone. We go for 2 weeks. Okay, this time is 10 days, but usually between 10 to 14 days. And we just book it in the calendar. And then, people schedule their weddings around it. And when we have ministry events, we just schedule around it, or new initiatives that we want to start. And this year in particular, that was so important because I'll be honest, if it wasn't booked a year in advance, we probably wouldn't have gone on vacation this year. And actually, I was actually kind of tempted to cancel it, to be honest, just because there's so much going on. And then you think to yourself, the kids have been just sitting around doing nothing for so long. Do they really need a vacation? And we're all at home together. But of course, as always, God inspired my wife, okay, and she insisted that we go, and she kept saying, you, meaning like me, need the vacation. And the truth of the matter is I absolutely needed it. And I'm so glad that I listened to her. What I discovered is if you don't book in advance, the more you need the vacation, the less likely you are to actually take it. So for us, we book it. We already booked our next year's vacation, okay, so we know when that's going to be. And we found that's the best way that works for us.
I mean, there's no way a year ago you could have planned what was going to happen in this year or predicted anything that has happened thus far in 2020. But did it feel just like quarantine away from home, or did it really feel like restful and different?
So God is so good to us. God is so good because usually we go on vacation. We go to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That's where we usually go on vacation. But if you know out there, that's like coronavirus central these days is Myrtle Beach. So to be honest, if that was our vacation spot, we probably wouldn't have gone because I wouldn't want to risk, church. But a year ago, we just randomly decided to book a new place in North Carolina, near the Outer Banks area, which is very quiet. So it was like a small town. So it was fantastic. Like God truly, truly, truly planned it out perfect for us to go to a quiet little place. And for sure, it was different than in years past, the vacation. But I'll do a little confession here with you, Katie. The part of vacation that I like the least is actually going out to eat. My son is actually the same way. We're both kind of homebodies. So this year was perfect because we never went out to eat. I think we went out like twice or 3 times in the entire 2 week or 10 days that we were gone. And one of those times was like to go, like the drive-through at Burger King or whatever it was. So for us, it was great. You know, we went, my wife went grocery shopping. We cooked in the place. We didn't have to leave. We saved a ton of money, of course. And we just did what we love to do. So for us, we're never like the daredevils or the adventure people who are going here and there. We play board games, you know, we watch movies, we read, we do spiritual stuff like Bible study and prayer. And again, our goal is really to come back more refreshed. So for us, quarantine was the perfect time to go away because there was less options. So it worked out really good for us.
You mentioned the spiritual aspect of your vacation. Do you change up your spiritual routine when you take time off? And what benefit do you see if you change things?
That's a great question. Absolutely. I believe in mixing things up, especially when you're on vacation. As a general principle of life, I believe that, you know, we should take advantage of like the natural course of life. So like New Year should be like a new start in lots of ways. The start of the school year. Anytime there's a chance to like break and reset, because I think we're so like programmed for routine. And I think routine kills everything. So when we go on vacation, yeah, I'm all about starting a new routine, both as a family as well as like personally, like myself. So as a family, one of the things that we always do is we choose something to study together, something in the Bible. So, you know, each one's kind of reading their own thing, but then we choose it, say, you know, this year we're going to study this particular. So last year, for example, we studied Gideon. Right? We looked at his life, and my wife had a book she was reading, like a commentary to guide us through. This year, we did the life of Elijah. We said we're going to study Elijah, which definitely may turn into a well series at some point. We loved it so much. And we do something different, okay? And the best thing about vacation, like at home, it's like, did you finish your homework? Did you eat dinner? Did we clean or whatever? But vacation, we don't need to wait till the end of the day to do those things. So we actually do it like in the mornings, okay? And mornings for us is like noon is when the kids get up at like 11. So morning is like noon. We have breakfast, and then we'll do our Bible study, and then we'll go out to the beach or the pool or whatever it may be. So it's a different time and a different activity versus just what we do throughout the rest of the year. And as for me personally, yeah, I'm all about mixing it up as well. For me, especially like when it comes to praying in front of water to me is a whole new ball game. So I look for opportunities to stand on the balcony and see. We had like a bay in front of us there, and makes a huge difference. That change in environment makes a huge difference. The other thing for me personally is I always bring like several books to read, and I never know what I'm going to read when I get there. I always just grab like 3 or 4 or 5 books and just throw them in the suitcase. And I usually start one. I'm like, nah. And this time, actually, I ended up reading a great book about, also may turn into a well series at some point as well, about life in the 1st and 2nd centuries for the early church. And man, oh man, it was beautiful to see like the time that we live in now with all the challenges that we're facing. When you look at the early church in the 1st and 2nd century, and you see like the challenges they faced, and you compare it to what we're facing, man, that perspective shift, okay? And just seeing that like what we're going through may be hard, but man, it's nothing compared to them. So the bottom line on vacation is I like to mix it up. I like to try new things. I like to go deeper into certain things as opposed to, you know, kind of doing what I usually do the rest of the year.
And we as a staff and at SCSA, we always joke that you mentioned your well series inspiration, and we always joke that we have to be prepared when you come back from vacation, because we never know what crazy idea you've been inspired by, or what crazy thing you want to do when you come back. So why do you feel like vacation is the time you get those inspired ideas? And what is it about vacation? You mentioned the water. I'm a naturalist, so that speaks to my soul. I love being in nature, and if I can change up the nature that I'm around, that always inspires me. But what is it for you about vacation that brings about all these sometimes crazy new ideas?
So I don't like the word crazy. I like the word inspired. Okay, when you said crazy, I didn't know you guys said that behind my back, but that's okay. The truth is actually the exact opposite. You know, I never go away on vacation and say, I'm going to solve this problem or I'm going to figure this out. It's actually the exact opposite. I go away and say, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't want to think about anything while I'm on vacation. And I make that my goal. That's also why, like I said, as we go away for 10 to 14 days, last year was 2 weeks, this year was just 10 days. And I feel like the first 4 or 5 days is just kind of forgetting everything what was in my mind and creating space. Okay, that's the important principle here, is that when you create space in your mind, like the world is so busy, and you're thinking about this, and there's emails, and there's phone calls, and there's voicemails, and there's meetings, and there's so many different things. There's no room to think. There's no room to dream. There's no room to go outside of the boundaries. And when you're too close to a problem, like we always kind of talk about this when we're trying to solve problems, we need to get outside the problem. When you're too close to it, you can't really see it. So for us, like I said, we get away, first 4 or 5 days, I'm not thinking about anything. And then after that, I'm still not thinking about anything intentionally, but what I'm doing is creating space. And when you create space in your mind, God will help you see the same thing from different perspectives. So several times, as you mentioned, okay, your crazy word, I say inspired, go away on vacation and there's stuff and I just want to put it away and come back with a fresh perspective on it. And you know what? Like you just start to see the same thing, but from a new angle. And that's where the inspiration oftentimes comes from. In case you're wondering what those ideas are for this year, I'm going to have to just make you wait. Okay. We'll stay tuned. Okay.
Stay tuned,
good stuff
everybody.
is coming. Good stuff is coming.
So it's not that you're bringing work with you on vacation with your family. It's that the time away gives you that space to think about the bigger problems or bigger ideas that are maybe
Absolutely.
in the back of your mind, hidden behind all the logistics.
Or I'll say it even a different way. It's maybe stuff that may be right in front of my eyes, but because I'm so distracted with all the other things, you can't really see it. Because you go away, like I said, and you pray and you take walks and you rest and you don't respond to emails. I don't do anything when I'm on vacation. Okay. I make that a goal. We put the laptop away. We put the phone away. I don't respond to text messages. I don't even check them. And the whole idea is that when you create that space, God always comes and fills it with something that you may not have been seeing before.
So why do you think church leaders, and you touched on it a little bit there, but can you expand on why you think church leaders should go out of their way to make time for vacation, despite the growing list on their to-dos?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so early on in my ministry, I wasn't as, I wouldn't have said what I'm about to say, okay? I kind of had the mentality of work, and I can fall into that. And it's for God, right? So it's work for God and ministry, and that's a dangerous place to be. I always say that if a banker or a lawyer works 100 hours a week, they would know what they're doing is wrong and they would work against it. But the problem as a priest, or if you're in ministry, you can work 100 hours a week and you can justify it. You could say it's for the kingdom of God. Well, here's the problem with that is that God himself commanded us to rest. And God himself set the example by taking rest himself. Like sometimes I've heard the expression, we don't take vacation. The devil doesn't take a vacation, so neither should we. And my response to that is, since when is the devil our role model? Like why are we following his lead? Yes, he doesn't take a vacation. So God does take a vacation. Right? God created the world, then he rested. And not only that, but God commanded us. When he gave us 10 commandments, he said, don't murder, don't adultery, don't lie. He said, make sure you take a day of rest every single week. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And after he gave that commandment, like thou shalt not murder was just a one-liner. Thou shalt not commit adultery, one-liner. But this Sabbath one, he expanded on. He said, 6 days you shall labor and do your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath. You shall do no work on that day. And he said, not your son, not your daughter, not your servant, not your animals, okay? Because he says, in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and all that is in them. And then he rested the seventh day. So he modeled for us what he is commanding us to do. And that says to me that God, in our DNA, programmed it, that we need to rest, okay? This machine, as well as our spirit, okay, doesn't work right if it pedal to the metal. Think of it like a car, like in NASCAR racing, okay? The car is driving at 1,000 miles an hour, it's driving. And sometimes you feel that way in ministry. Like around here, Katie, like sometimes the action is kind of fast and furious and it's pretty dynamic and, we're pivoting quickly and trying to respond quickly to things. Here's the thing, that car needs gas. You can't fill up with gas while you're driving 100 miles an hour. Like, you can't shoot the gas in the air and hope that it lands. You can't rotate the tires and fill up with the oil. You need to stop, recharge, and then get out there and run again. It's a principle that Stephen Covey writes about in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, called sharpening the saw. The principle is, if I got a saw and I'm trying to cut down the tree, at some point I need to be less productive by stopping to sharpen it to be that much more productive when I go back. Okay. And oftentimes I feel like we as leaders, we're not doing that. We just keep running and running and running, and we're tired and we're drained, and we have no perspective, and we're not fresh, and we're beaten down, but we just think running, running, running. Well, I look at it the opposite. I believe that the more that's on our plate, the more we need to take a time to rest. And that rest isn't just a yearly rest on vacation. Okay, that should be like a daily, a weekly, and a yearly. Okay, like a single day, we need a little bit of rest. Okay, that's your quiet time, your 15 minutes, your half hour, your hour, if you can do it. Okay, every single day, we need a Sabbath to rest. Every week, we need a longer Sabbath. That's when we go to church, okay, on Sundays. And then every year, we need an even longer Sabbath. And that, for me, is vacation, where we get away and rejuvenate ourselves, okay? And again, the way I look at it, taking a vacation and taking a rest is an exercise in trusting God, okay? And obeying his commandment and trusting that if I do my part, he will take care of the rest, okay? I don't need to be Superman. The church doesn't rely on me, but I trust that God will do his part. I will take care of myself, and I'll trust him to take care of the ministry.
I'm going to have to talk to my husband about planning our vacation in a year, because, and every day and every week, I really love that perspective. And I think it's so important. And it makes us better leaders and better people, better coworkers, better spouses, better parents, all of that. So, well, I have a fun question for you. You mentioned that you kind of pick random places to get away, but of all of your years of vacation, where has been your absolute favorite place to take a vacation?
I don't want to cop out of this question, but to be honest, I don't know if I have an answer, because the places, I never remember the places. They all just kind of run together. What I remember is the memories. Like I said, I remember the Gideon Bible study that we did. If you asked me where we went last year, it would take me a while to think. But I remember the conversations. I remember the Bible studies. I remember even the fights that we have, because when you go on vacation, okay, there's fights, because I remember the making up that leads to as well. I guess my point is, to me, it's not about the place. It's not about like the restaurant that we went to or this activity that we did. I get it for some people, like that's their thing. So I'm not saying that's the wrong way, but for us, man, it's never about where we go. If I told you some of the places that we go, like we go to places where you have to drive like 20 minutes just to get to the nearest grocery store or McDonald's, whatever it is. And it's just farmland and just nothing. But like I said, we enjoy our time. We make good memories. And for us, the vacation is a lot less about the location and more about like the resting.
That's encouraging to hear in this time where we can't necessarily jet off to Hawaii at a moment's notice. So even finding somewhere local to just get away and quarantine here, quarantine there, at least it's a change of scenery and a break from work. And
absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you, Father Anthony, for joining us today and for sharing about your vacation. I know you're ready to get back to work, and vacation put in the back window and ready to get things going here. And I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again.
To listen to previous episodes or access all of our free resources, join the community at sdsaministries.org.